I'm Andrew McKenna. I'm going to be with you for the next 35 minutes or so. And I've got David Bumble Lloyd with me during the interval, where we've been talking for the last day or so about potential law changes, because the game constantly evolves, but maybe the one thing that doesn't are the laws at times. And we've been asking you to get in touch as well with your thoughts on potential changes that you would tweak in the laws. Right, Bumble, we've got a few things noted down already, and one of the things that's been around the game for a discussion point for a while is substitutes in the game. And obviously it's come back into focus in this match. Just to recap for anyone who's missed this news, you're waking up this morning, Ravichandran Ashwin has been ruled out of the rest of this game. It was announced quite late on yesterday evening, actually Indian time, that he had left the Indian camp for personal reasons. About half an hour later, a vice president of the BCCI, a man who's also a quite high-level politician, put out on social media that Ashwin had left the group to go to Chennai to be with his mother. So originally this wasn't part of the information it was put out, it was simply personal circumstances, but it was put out there that it is for family reasons. So Ashwin has left Rajkot in northwest India to go down to Chennai down in the southeast, won't play any further part in the game. And it means that India are a player less. Now, lots of people on social media straight away went, well, do you know what? Ben Stokes is the sort of guy who would say, do you know what? These are exceptional circumstances. As it stands, the law states you can only have a sub for COVID or concussion. And therefore people were saying, well, this is such an exceptional circumstance. This isn't India trying to take advantage. This is a man who's gone to be with a very poorly family member. Should they be allowed a sub? And people were saying, well, Ben Stokes is the sort of guy who would have gone, yeah, do you know what, in this circumstance, we'll allow it. But technically, the rules of the game, the laws of the game, don't allow it. Should this? India aren't trying to pull a fast one on this. Should they be allowed a sub?
Well, there are special circumstances, and there's a match referee who can judge this, and it's very worthy of people to surmise that England would say we have no problem. It's nothing to do with England, and you'd expect that from Ben Stokes. He's that sort of guy. But there is a match referee who's a representative of the ICC. There's nothing in the laws of the game or regulations that would cover it. Common sense, just use common sense, that it would seem that, you know, there's a serious illness and he needs to be away with his family and he isn't coming back. So therefore you can, in these special circumstances, you can have a like for like substitute, and I'd see that as being quite reasonable. I wouldn't be comfortable if he left, came back and took part again. If he's gone, he's gone, and that needs to be taken into consideration. But it hampers the team. Strangely, we're not hearing that India have asked for a substitute. We're not hearing that. So that might suggest that he's gone back home and may come back. So there's a difference there. Yeah. But in special circumstances, there is the match referee is there on the ground. And he can judge, he can make the decision. Yes, this is reasonable, you can have a substitute. It's a like for like. And then the other team, in this case England, it is actually nothing to do with them, but they might have a voice and say, well, we've no problem with it.
I mean, on substitutes in general, I mean, Chris Hyde has been in touch and said, I can't think of any other professional sport where 11 players are expected to play a full match without some kind of rotation. Substitutes would make a world of difference to cricket for all sorts of reasons. He said that would be his rule change. And the other thing is, you know, a football game is 90 minutes. A rugby game is 80 minutes. Yeah. A rugby union game, 80 minutes, and you get 8 substitutes. You can substitute almost half a team. If you think about how much a test match evolves over a course of 5 days, you say, well, no, the coin went up at 10:30 on Thursday morning, and you said these are our 11. By Monday afternoon, no, you've still got to have those same 11. Should we be more open to the possibility?
It's certainly a good debate, and when you're seeing one-day cricket or white ball cricket and these satellite competitions, you can bring a player off, can't you? He's batting, you can come off, I'm going to retire him and send somebody else in. So there's something evolving along the way, and certainly in test match cricket, I think it's a test. It's a test of the 11 over 4 or 5 days and fitness. So what we're talking about here, can the coach, say an all-powerful coach or captain, tactically, I'm going to change him, I'm going to bring him in. How many would you allow? Would you allow 1? Would you allow 2 or 3? We're talking about football and rugby. And so, tactically, would it make the game better? Be interesting to hear the views of listeners. Would it make the game better? My own view, just first up, it's a test. It's what it says on the tin. This is a test of endurance, mental capacity, fitness, skill.
Right, one of your pet hates time wasting in the game.
Don't.
So we're going to go through this one quickly because you have touched on this one a lot. But we were talking about this out the back of the box earlier, and Jared Kimber made the point that we now got the timer in existence between overs to try and get things a move on. That if you don't start bowling the next over within a certain time period, there is a run penalty. I suppose the next extrapolation is, do we get a timer between deliveries? Because that totally unnecessary conversation between bowler and captain where nothing appears to change, we need to speed things up. We need to get things moving along.
Definitely. I mean, the game is at a standstill at times. There's nothing happening. And so there's something else that crops up, that tickets are quite expensive. In the UK, I've not come to watch grass grow. I want to see cricket. I want to see them playing. I don't want to see this guy keep running on with a drink and a pair of gloves and a pill and a cap and another pair of gloves and a towel and another drink. I don't want to see that. I want to see play. So I'll kill it in one instance. Administer the laws of the game. And I don't know which law it is. I should do, but I'll read it up. That the batsman has to be ready when the bowler is at the end of his normal run. If he isn't, just bowl. Just get on with bowl. If he isn't there, just carry on. The laws of the game state he has to be ready when the bowler is at the end of his run. Bowl. He'll get there. He'll get the message, the batter. He or she will get the message, I need to be here. Or he's got a free run at the stumps. Changing gloves, have another drink, have a towel, have a chat. Back in the day, and I did it myself as an umpire. You would not let that non-striking batter mid-over go strolling down the pitch for a chat. Where you going? Come back. It just stops the game.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
time wasting is all encompassing. If you just say, if you're at the end of your run, just bowl.
The other thing is, I've said for a while, this whole thing about, right, we're going to get 90 overs in a day and then we'll have half an hour at the end to catch up all the time. Well, why let it build up to such an extent? I've said for a while, it should be, we're staying out at lunch till 28 overs have been bowled. We'll stay out at tea till we've had 57 overs in the day. And that way you might need a little bit past 6 o'clock. I'm working on English times here. But it wouldn't be the full half hour, because sometimes even with the full half hour, you can't catch it up. Just squeeze lunch, just squeeze tea a little bit, because if you let it build up throughout the day, you're never going to catch it back up. If you have to do a little bit of overtime at lunch and a little bit of overtime at tea, is that not an easier and better way?
Well, you're looking to get your 90 overs a day, and there's so many times, and it's happened here a couple of times, that it's now matter of fact that, we've lost 4 overs, we've lost 7 overs, and is the public being shortchanged? If the cricket's exhilarating, the public, by and large, tend to say, well, it's been great. But it'll keep going less and less and less, because the players, and we've all been players, will slow it down. They'll slow the game down. They'll have the chats. And so time wasting, it covers so much, and the umpires can be far more proactive in keeping the game going. And it's been mentioned that if you reduce the lunch break and you've got to stay out there, that's not fair on the umpires. Well, it is actually, because they're running the game. They can speed it up, and you can give your penalties. Now the penalty, we're talking about law changes, just a change in the game. I'm a massive advocate of yellow and red cards. And if you're time wasting, the team is the responsibility of the captain. You give a yellow card to the captain. If he does it again, he's off the field. You're off. They'll get the message. Yes. It's one of them things that once it's there, it's a deterrent. There isn't one now. There's no deterrent for time wasting, and very rarely, I don't stress this, very, very rarely, you get abusive behaviour. Very rarely. Yellow cards. A yellow card. The umpire hears everything out on the field. Yellow card. Why a yellow card? That the team know. He's got the message that you've misbehaved. The public knows. The broadcaster knows. Everybody knows instantly. He's on a charge.
And by the way, that is something that we really have to bear in mind, is the people in the stadium. So often we do it for the TV audience. So yesterday, the 5 penalty runs for running down the pitch, the signal for that is the umpire touches his shoulder and with the flat of his hand so his 5 fingers are up. If you're at the MCG 120 yards away, how on earth are you going to see that signal?
Yeah, it's got to be something that's instant for everybody concerned, and the paying customer is paramount.
Absolutely. One of the things that affects the speed of the game is reviews, because there is a process that they have to take up, and it, generally speaking, takes about 3 minutes or so. Well, that's basically another over gone. Are we happy that 3 reviews?
Well, 3, didn't it come in for COVID? That's something come into it, and it's here to stay. That's here to stay now. I go quite the other way. It's supposed to stop the howler.
Yes. 1
review, just 1. And you would not gamble. It's not a gamble. You've got to be absolutely convinced that that's been a howler. You don't get many. You don't get many howlers. You get marginal decisions that might just go your way. And it again takes time out of the game, as you mentioned. An average of about 3 minutes, can be a lot more. And so I would go with 1 review. And when they first came in, there was a massive debate of how many reviews. And 1 was seriously looked at, and you always get a compromise. Well, let's make it 2, and then COVID will have 3. So what's next? 4, 5?
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned that we touched on this yesterday. LBW, ball pitching outside leg stump.
I was being mischievous.
You were, but as you know, if you've got the ability to turn it 1.5 foot from outside off stump, why shouldn't you be allowed to turn it 1.5 foot from outside legs? Give me the technical reasons for the game itself, why that wouldn't be a good idea.
It'd look horrible. The game would finish very, very quickly. Bowlers wouldn't bowl over the wicket. They'd just bowl round the wicket into any sort of rough areas. It's an awkward shot to play from the angles of the game. It can be quite complicated at times, having to play that awkwardness, and it wouldn't be a spectacle. There would be shots that'd be obsolete. You know, the cover drive would go out of the game completely, the square cut. They'd all be probing outside leg stump because it's awkward to get out of to get to the ball from your stance that you've got. So that's a no from me. Many bowlers would say absolutely, bring it on. Batters would say definitely not. And so the other one that is a real pet, and I'd be interested in listeners' views on this, is bad light. But you know, I played a long time, I've coached a long time. Bad light is a misnomer, it's not. I played in it. You can see league players play Wednesday nights.
Well, I was just about to say, pretty much everyone who's listening to this grew up playing evening league cricket, either 14 8-ball overs or 26 ball overs. Didn't start till 6:15, 6:30.
I think we come off far too quickly for bad light. I played in that game. It's a famous game in the early 70s, which finished at round about 5-9. Dickie Bird umpiring, of course. When you could appeal against the light, you can't now. You could appeal against the light. It was a stroke of genius by our captain who was out there. He had the right. There's a full house. People sat on the grass against Gloucestershire, a Gillette Cup game, and he appealed against the light. Jack Bond, who was the captain, and then thought and said, there's a lot of people here who'd be disappointed we're staying on. They had Mike Proctor bowling, quick, rapid. And so the game concluded with a lad called David Hughes, who went on to be captain and coach at Lancashire, hitting 26 and an over, which won us the game. And that game has gone down in history, in folklore. And that wouldn't have happened if they'd have come off the field. So I've played in bad light in club and league cricket against tasty bowlers. I think they come off far, far too early and depriving the public, because you don't want to go. I say it time and time again. You're paying for a ticket. You don't want to go and watch the grass grow. You want to see action. That's what I've come to see. And when they go off the field, I think it's so frustrating, and it's tactical. I've done it. I've done it. I've been a player, I've been a captain, I've been a get off, take some time out the game, keep out there.
Now, our own Jared Kimber is, let's be polite to him, call him a left field thinker. I mean, he's got some theories and a half. We were talking about this earlier on, and he said, well, why don't people start bowling underarm again? Because the law is actually, it's not that you can't bowl underarm. The law actually says it can only bounce once.
Yeah.
So he said you couldn't have a Chapel moment again of actually someone rolling it along the surface, because that wouldn't be allowed. What about underarm bowling? Could that ever come? Because if you've ever watched women's softball, the pitching in that they call it whirly bird, and they sort of really wind up a couple of times around, and they actually pitch underarm, but get quite a high speed from this whipping motion of the arm. Do you ever see that coming back in?
In a word, no.
Fair dues. I mean, it's an option from Jared, but probably not a lot on that one. Short pitch bowling. Now, back in your day,
intimidation.
You absolutely got peppered, and it wasn't the fact it was short pitch; it was intimidatory. We've now got a limit of 2 and over. Where are you on that one?
I think it's about right, 2 and over. You could bowl more, and particularly, say, in Australia, in an 8-ball over, as they were, you could be receiving 5 and 6 bounces. It's not a great spectacle. I think 2 and over is enough. The players have got plenty of protection on now, and so I'm quite happy with 2 and over. They've played about with that. You can only bowl 1, and again, back in the day before protection and helmets, if a number 10, 9, 10, 11 were useless, the umpire would stop the quick bowler from bowling, but you can't bowl at him. He can't handle it, and so that's gone. It's finished, which is fair enough, because they do have enough equipment on. I think by and large, in balance, 2's plenty. Now that the waist high full toss, you get that waist high full toss, which is instantly called, maybe from square leg, or you have a look at it on a replay, that it's seen as dangerous bowling, and a no ball and a warning. I'd change that slightly, in that if the ball would hit the stumps, it's not dangerous because it's from a slower bowler. It is dangerous from a quick bowler when you're expecting the ball to bounce or be a full toss below waist high. Your mind can't control a very quick delivery that's above waist high. You can't control it, and that is dangerous. But if it comes from a spinner and it's going to hit the stumps, I don't see that as the same category as a quick bowler being dangerous.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.